Yer! What's good, big dogs? Saturday, man. Saturday is for the big dogs. Saturdays are for the big dogs. Kentucky Derby, man. Kentucky Derby this weekend. What's going on with my people? Gotta love when you're looking for something to watch and the big dogs got a live stream cooking up. Justin, you absolutely do have to love that. Absolutely gotta love it, man. What's going on in your neck of the woods? What's going on with Justin? Listen, I'm drinking a Red Bull that the can got a little bit crazy, but we didn't break it. So it's the last one, and we're gonna drink it. All going the wrong way and shit. What's up, Krampus? What's up, Kay? How we doing, man? How we feeling? Had a week to process the draft now. How we feeling about it? Big dogs. Peanut butter and jelly the long way. Yes, sir. All right, we got it popping today. What's a mediocre dynasty quarterback 3 I can target in a trade? Cheap options. Oh, Chase, I love the way you're talking to me right now. I got you covered. I think there's obviously a handful. One of my favorite ones to try to target would be Stafford, just because you actually may end up being able to use him as better than your quarterback 3, I think, for the season. Dak Prescott fits the same mold. Those are a little bit more on the expensive side. Obviously, you can go the Geno Smith route. You can go there's a lot of different ones. I try to stay away. Like, I'm a little bit scared off of Sam Darnold, frankly, but I think there's a plethora. And this is one of the things I think in particular in Dynasty is I see a lot of people that have a quarterback room with a really good quarterback 3 as far as Dynasty value. To me, I'd rather have a quarterback 3 that's not carrying a bunch of Dynasty weight. So I love that. Let me know if that helps you out. We can get you a quarterback 3, man. We can get you one. Big dog, Soggy Danger. What's going on, man? What up, the big ham? We got all kind of people, man. All kind of people popping up into the trades. What's going on with you? In a 4 point per carry rookie draft as we speak, W. Geno or Stafford? I'm definitely taking Stafford here. No question about it. I think you can maybe make the case that Geno has more shelf life possibly, but not even close for me, Stafford. 105, can't decide between Ward and Tet. Mahomes, Geno, and Russ as QBs. Let's see. I mean, is this a super flex? Is it a 12 team or is it a 10 team? I'd probably go with I would go in a 12 team super flex with Ward. In a 10 team, I would go with Tet. That would be the way I would look at it. Mahomes, Geno, and Russ at quarterbacks. Yeah, I think in a 12 team for sure, I'd be rolling with Ward side. Even if you had these 3 quarterbacks. In a 10 team, I'm definitely rocking with the Tet side though. Adam, do I watch the NHL playoffs? Rob, I can tell you safely that I do not. So I do not do that. All right, 12 team, Superflex, start 10, PPR, tight end premiums, a half point. Allen, Kyler, Darnold, Stafford, A-Chain, Hall, Henderson, Scatterbo, Connors, Lamb, Nico, London, Marvin Harrison Jr., JSN. I think that's supposed to be Addison and Reed. All right, so there's no question here. Just flexing it out. Okay, what moves to make? I got you. Here it is. So I would say I think in a 12 team you have having Stafford as your quarterback 3, Darnold as excess. But I also could make the case if you could trade off of, let's say, Stafford for something reasonable. Like maybe it's better to hold on to Darnold. You have, I think, with 4 quarterbacks, I'm not looking to move one just for cheap, but I think you have leverage at the quarterback position. A-Chain, Hall, Henderson, Scatterbo, and Connor. I think you're fine at the running back position. I don't think you're like super loaded, but I think you're fine. And Lamb, Nico, London, Marv, I mean, you're stacked at receiver too. It's a goon squad, man. I wouldn't even worry about what your tight end position is. I think if anything, like you're probably in a position where, to be completely honest with you, I'm probably holding out. I'm trying to like let the leverage build up, and other people want to come buy the pieces off my team. You could definitely make the case for tearing up possibly at the receiver position. At running back, I think I'm holding. I think you're just in a great spot right now. I'm probably not I'm not really pushing the envelope, trying to make moves too fast and too furious, if that makes sense. All right. So who do we want to see starting at quarterback for the Browns in 2025, 2026? We got 5 of them. I'll tell you who I don't want to see. Let me say who I don't want to see. I don't want to see any more Watson. All right. I don't want to see any more Deshaun Watson. I'm over it. Watson, done. Yeah, no problem, Sean. I saw your thanks for the answer on the content. Absolutely. So what do you want to see starting at quarterback for the Browns in 25 and 26? I would say I think the out of the gates we're probably going to get Flacco. I think that it was a great story, great run, but I don't think for a full season him as your starter it's actually going to work out. And I want to see what Shedeur has. I want to see eventually Shedeur become the starting quarterback for the Browns personally. Nothing against Dylan Gabriel, but I think he's more talented in my personal estimation. So I don't know if that's the answer you wanted to hear, but that's the answer that's what I would like to see. I went Judkins over Hunter at 105. My squad is loaded at wide receiver, and I draft based on need. Would it have been worth it going for the ceiling route on Hunter? So this is a good question, Wesley. And I would have done the other way around. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't work out perfectly fine here. The reason I say that is I typically try to, with my teams, I like to draft for value and trade later for need. Meaning, if Hunter is going to be valued in the market of my league higher than Judkins, which I would say right now that's pretty much is across the board the case, I can now find a way to trade Hunter or somebody else on my team at receiver that I'm loaded at and rework that into my running back room as opposed to kind of, I guess I would say, just giving up on that value. Like I would feel like I basically lost out on the value by just pressing the button on Judkins. I'd rather see what Hunter could get me in the trade or someone on my team at the running back spot that isn't Judkins personally. And I love Judkins in Cleveland, man, but that would have been that'd be my personal suggestion moving forward. Again, it doesn't mean that it can't work out for you, this situation. All right, so I have Mahomes as my quarterback 1 and Stafford/McCarthy as my other 2 quarterbacks in Superflex. Should I be targeting someone? Let's see. No, I think. See, so I have a similar situation actually where I don't have Mahomes, okay, but I have Caleb Williams in Fade the Fetal. It's a BDG league, so I have Caleb Williams as my quarterback 1. I have JJ McCarthy, and then I have Dak Prescott. I feel like that's actually a pretty similar scenario here to what you have, and I kind of like it a lot, to be honest with you, because Stafford is that security blanket that you need if McCarthy ends up not being what we think he's going to be, right? I feel like those 2 pairings. It's like almost a match made in heaven. The upside of McCarthy, if he plays well, with what we saw with Darnold last year, with Jefferson, with Addison, with Hockenson now fully healthy, it's perfect. I don't think I'd be targeting anyone. I think they're a perfect match. And then as the season progresses, if you decide you're comfortable with McCarthy or you're comfortable with Stafford, those 2 guys now become, trade bait to someone that inevitably is going to need a quarterback. So I feel like you're in a really good spot personally. I wouldn't be targeting anyone at the moment personally. All right, Stafford, I like that. Thanks. Yeah, for sure. I got you, Chase. Anytime, man. All right, is Tua a low-value quarterback 3, or is he still a high-value quarterback 3 with his standpoint in the Dynasty community? So, I mean, I feel like at this point we kind of have a good history on Tua. Obviously, at this point, the biggest concern is just health, right? And for where he's at in Dynasty rankings, where the community probably views him, the reason he's so low is more so because of the scare in health. He's basically 1 injury away at this point from turning into dust Dynasty-wise. And then the other thing is I would say he's when he's healthy and playing well. The upside, the absolute ceiling play is probably like a high quarterback 2, right? Low quarterback 1. So we kind of know that he's not going to finish the season as some top 5 option without something crazy and drastic happening. So the risk and the reward, I think, comfortably puts him in that quarterback 20-ish range. So 25 probably more so, to your point. So I would say he's more of a high value quarterback 3. He comes with some risk, but as long as he's on the field, he's going to probably deliver as much value as most of the guys in this range. There's obviously some guys in the Anthony Richardson, Justin Fields category that they have probably higher upside, but even less of a floor, if we're being honest. But that would be the way I'd answer that question. All right, y'all. Let's see what we got here. We got a 12-team Superflex start 10 PPR tight end premium half. It's a half tight end premium. Got it. It's a lineup league. Okay. Allen, Kyler, Darnold, Stafford, H.A. Hall, Henderson, Scatterbo, Connors, Lamb, Nico, London, Marvin Harrison Jr., JSN, Addison, Reed, Bowers, Pitts, and Strange. I love that. What moves to make or wait? I feel like, you know what, Sean? I think I got this question from you already, if I remember right. Yeah, I think you're kind of. I would be patient at this point, personally, and also this is just an absolute flex. I mean, this team is crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. I think you're in a perfect spot. I wouldn't be like forcing trades to go through to you right now. I think you can kind of wait for people to be in a better spot of needing something, and then I would do that. RJ or Caleb for a contender? Good question, man. I have gone back and forth quite a bit. I think they're in the same tier for me pretty safely. I personally lean right now with the draft capital to RJ Harvey because I think he does have a little bit more, slightly more upside to capture. But like the way that Tomlin was talking in the presser after the draft and how he's a high volume back, speaking of Caleb Johnson, a lot of the traits, I think Caleb, you saw a lot of how he's really good in zone, and what they're going to be doing there is going to be zone. I think he's going to be damn good in his own right. So it's kind of one of those, if you feel strongly, I think I would go, if you feel strongly toward RJ Harvey or toward Caleb, whether that's with Sean Payton and the way that he can, develop running backs when he hand chooses them, or if you want to talk with, Caleb Johnson, you believe in him more, I would lean that way. But I feel like it's kind of to me personally, you can't go wrong. I think both these guys have really high promise in the NFL. Late first round, I love honestly pressing the button on either one of these players. So how many dynasty leagues is too many? Just got invited to a fourth, and I have 2 keeper leagues and a handful of redrafts. Chase, this is a question for the individual. I've seen the sickos. There's people I know that are in like 40, 50, and some that are in 60. For me, I'm currently at 18 right now, and I actually got above that. When I got past like in the 20s, for me, I found that was too many, and I cut it down to 18. I'm comfortable right now in that 15 to 20 range for myself. I feel like everybody has their own different range and limit, though, right? So if you currently feel really good with managing the squads that you have, and you would really like to get into another one, and you think that's not going to be a problem, I say go ahead and go for that fourth. But just know that as you increment up, depending on how you manage your teams and the style in which you do that, there's a little bit more managerial work that comes with each one of those squads. So I feel like adding one more here probably wouldn't be something that I would be overly concerned with if I was you. But just know that as you continue to creep up, you'll start to feel potentially where it's not as fun. And that right then and there is where you need to, I would say, cut back leagues if you get to that point. Because when it becomes not fun, you're ruining the whole thing, right? The whole idea here is not that we don't want to win, but you want to be having fun. So I hope that helps answer your question. It's really widespread, though. Some people it's 4, some people it's 3, some people it's 5. But it goes way past that depending on the level of DGen we're talking here. Do you rather have those late running backs over the first round wide receivers? Do you have Harvey and Caleb over Golden and Higgins? So I have Harvey and Caleb. Yes, I do currently. They're close though, right? So I'll just tell you in my rankings, which if you go to bdge.co, you can get all my updated Dynasty rookie rankings and if you become a Big Dog member, it's $9.99. There's all kinds of different things you get here. And this stream actually is normally supposed to only be for the Big Dogs. I personally actually right now kind of messed this up and I didn't do it as unlisted. So you guys are all getting to get a little preview here of the regular channel of what the Big Dogs only get with the rankings and with the private Q&A that I do every single Saturday. So if you're interested in that, go check that out at this point. But yeah, in my rankings right now, I have, just by a hair, I have Caleb and RJ over Jayden Higgins and Matthew Golden. And for me, it just comes down to, I think that both Harvey and Caleb have the opportunity and could put us in a position to get closer to that wide receiver one, the running back 1 range as far as finishing in like points per game. I'm not saying that Matthew Golden can't or that Higgins can't. I'm a little more skeptical that they're going to become wide receiver, like, top 12 options at the position. So that's why I slightly lean to those. But depending on your scoring settings, depending on how many you're starting at the running back position, wide receiver position, I could definitely make the case where I would flip-flop those. But right now I have RJ Harvey and Caleb at 10 and 11, and I have Golden and Harris at 13 and 14. So super close in my rankings. And depending on what you need and what your scoring settings are, I could definitely make the case to flip-flop that. What's good, everybody, though? What is good, everybody? Suggestions on setting up a keeper league. I'll tell you, man, the keeper league thing is I think it's really interesting because there's in a keeper league, right? Part of the problem is I think it's kind of trying to be a hybrid between redraft and dynasty, and the way in which you set it, it always tends to be the people that really want to get more into the dynasty levels. They always want more. They want more keepers. They want less restrictions. And the redraft crowd typically, right, if you're more into redraft per se, you always want to be pushing the envelope the other way. So it's honestly tough. I'm not in any keeper leagues anymore. So as much as I would love to give you a suggestion, I would be, I think, being dishonest if I told you like I really feel comfortable or strongly about it, because I basically got out of keeper leagues and fully pushed the dynasty because I feel like it opens it up a lot more. Yeah, Chase knows that dude's fucking team is outrageous. Are BDGE leagues opening back up this year? That's a good question, Lewis. I want to say yes. I'm not 100% sure though, so I need to ask Nicholas and Sexual, all the guys. I want to say yes, but I'm not 100% sure, to be completely honest. I reached on Will Howard in the third round because I was horny. Superflex. I mean, listen, in Superflex, like the draft capital there, right? And that means it could be nothing. But there is also nothing in Pittsburgh unless you believe really highly in Mason Rudolph to guarantee that he won't be a starter. So once you get to the third round, you're starting to really shoot your shot on realistically long shots. So I don't have him that highly personally. I have him closer to the fourth round, but at the same point, like I don't have any problem with it. So no problem with it at all. All right, do I give up Monty? Excuse me. Do I give up Monty in the 109 for Javonte? 107, 207, 310, 26 second. My only RBs are Chuba, Monty, and Dobbins. So 107, like, here's the way I would do this, right? The 107 and the 109 actually is in a tier break, so I definitely lean the 107 over the 109 for me. Monty and Javonte is such a big difference, though. In the 207, my only RBs are Chuba, Monty, and Dobbins. So at the 107, right? Let's just walk through it. Like at the 107 spot, you're likely to get, I'd say, Quinshawn or Travion Henderson, right? So like reshuffling that into Quinshawn or Trev, I would definitely take those players over Monty. Not even really that close. But then it's to the point of, okay, 109, which again, now you're talking about a Caleb or a Harvey, or if you wanted to, your flavor was a Golden, right? Or, one of the receivers, Jayden Higgins, something like that. Versus 207, Javonte Williams, 310, 26 second. Man, I would say the 26 second on the value side makes that look a lot better. And it's not that I wouldn't take that. This would probably come down to settings for me, though, Dakota. Like, how many are we starting? How many total players are we starting? So if this is like a 12-team Superflex league where we're starting, let's say, 9 or 10 players, I probably actually would take I might consider taking that Monty in that 109 just because while I do think that Quinshawn and the Travion Henderson's a big enough upgrade, realistically for me, I'd rather have Monty versus a lot of the other players on that other side. And the value is seemingly way more on that side, but it's kind of nickel and diming its way there. Where in a lineup start 9, I want to have closer to the full dollar. So if you're starting a lot more players, though you're starting 12 players, I think I could make the case where, okay, now I would want to stay off the Monty in the 109. That's my personal answer. Oh, wait, hold on. 8 keeper half pot. Oh, PPR. So you get to keep 8 people. Man, I still think I'd probably want the Monty and the 109 side on that. Was good. ATM. What's up, man? I want to say I want to say, are on the sell Lad train. What would you look to get off of him? I think the Chargers will lean more into the run game, especially after the ugly playoff loss. Yeah, I mean, he's a player, though, that I don't think, if you go to keep, trade, cut, you go to generic rankings. Excuse me. I don't think his market is actually as robust as those would have you to believe, right? Like, is he a top 10, top 12 receiver? Yeah, probably. Like, realistically, putting him in that range. But I don't think he's trading for – I just don't think he's trading for, like, what a lot of times what a London will trade for. And you may look at dynasty rankings that have him very much in the same breath as that type of a player. So right now, KTC has him at wide receiver 12, I believe. Yeah, wide receiver 12. Like, Drake London, who's wide receiver 9, I feel like is in a totally separate tier as far as trades. Nico, Puka, right? So I definitely would like to trade off of Lad at the current point, but I just don't know if you get the return anywhere near what I think receivers that are maybe 1, 2, 3 spots up from him actually would net you. So. I agree. I mean, I think their drafting of Omarion Hampton says they're going to run the football a ton. So, no disagreements whatsoever with that. What would I look to get for him? I mean, I don't know if you're in a rebuild or if you're contending, right? So, I think the way in which you probably net the best return for Lad, though, is not trying to tier up. If you could tier up, though, and it's cheap, that'd be awesome. I would love to do that where maybe I add a little bit of value into Lad and I go, can I get myself into the BTJ range or the CeeDee Lamb range? That's typically probably the way I'd like to do it in a shallow league where I'm starting 9 or 10 players. That's what I'd prefer to do. But your probably best bet is actually to take, a shot on some of the players that are lower valued. Like, can I get – I've seen people really starting to hate on Rome after they just drafted Luther Burden and – Colson Loveland. So, like, could I get Rome in a first? Like, that's probably the way I'd like to go, where I down tier and give myself a liquid shot later on at replacing some of the value in Lad. All right, so we got Electric Weekend. What's up, Cody? Don't tell my wife about the chicken wings. Famous Kev, what's going on? 104, Trevion Henderson. 25 second, 206 Luther Burden, 209 got Kyle Williams, 303 Terrence Ferguson, 311 Harold Fannin. 104 for Trev at the moment seems early, but like I don't hate it. For me, I would take Travis Hunter, Cam Ward. I also don't know what your settings are here, right? So I don't know if it's super flex and 12 team or 10 team or whatever, but I don't have a problem with any of these picks, honestly. I love Kyle Williams and Luther Burden at the 206 and 209 spots. Terrence Ferguson, nice couple tight end shots in the third round. That's also the way I prefer to draft my teams, is where I shoot my shot on the lower costing tight ends as opposed to going after Colson Loveland and Tyler Warren at the moment. AJB for 327 first. Wow. Spicy. I mean, AJ Brown I think still has the Himothy in him, but 3 first for any player in Dynasty, I'm already thinking about it. 27 class especially, if I get shots at having the early 27 picks, I think I'd want the 327 first, to be completely honest with you, Dylan. Fight me. I said it. I'll take the 327s. All right, so I am in a full rebuild mode and took Gentry at the 101. I'm looking to move him for young receivers and future picks. Should I be looking to trade him now or wait until the season starts? I mean, I think the answer's kind of dependent on your league. Like, are you getting a bunch of offers and are they serious, right? So I'm perfectly fine trading him now. I mean, the guy's currently like running back 3 overall in Dynasty. If you look at like overall Superflex rankings, he's bordering a top 12 pick, right? So if you're telling me, like, keep trade cut at the moment, and I know this isn't the Bible, it's not the only source out there. It's just something I have on the left of me here, so I can just take a peek at it. If you're telling me he's already the 202, 201 in startups, like, sure, you could trade him right now. Absolutely. It's just more so a matter of, are people paying the price for Gentry? I think right now he doesn't have to produce for people to see the value, right? He's a top 10 running back. So like that already to me speaks volumes about his dynasty value. Now, the one thing you might be able to get a bump up is if Genty comes out and he's a top 5 running back, let's say in the first few weeks, okay, there might be a little more value coming his way. He might go higher up the rankings, but there's just not much left to get to wait for the season, right? If you're telling me he's only behind CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Hurts, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan, Brock Bowers, Joe Burrow, like he's already in elite of elite territory. So I don't think you really need to hold off trading him now, personally, if that's what you're after doing in a full rebuild mode. Like, I just don't. I mean, obviously it comes down to your league and the people trading for him, but I don't think you have to wait necessarily. All right, 10-team PPR, half tight end premium, 0.25 points per carry premium. I traded Ricky Pearsall, Chuba, 109 and 206. Christopher, I think I might have missed the second part here. Or did you, like, what was the actual trade? I'll see. Either put it down in the comments again, or if you could, I'll see if there's another comment that you leave later, but I'll get back to it. Hey, one quarterback. I have JT, Mixon, Warren, Mason, Garendo. Wide receivers are Lamb, Neighbors, London, JSN, Pearsall. I was thinking about trading Mixon and JSN for the 102, Hampton, and a 26 mid-first. Thoughts? So Mixon and JSN for the 102 and the 26 mid. I mean, here's the way I would think about it, right? JSN for Hampton, if you're telling me it's already the player, I would say the market probably reflects to JSN as a slight win on that trade. I'll just go through and take a peek here just to see. JSN 29 overall, Hampton 32, right? But they're pretty comparable. That's what I was going to say. JSN and Hampton probably kind of a wash, maybe slightly into JSN. But I feel like a 26 mid-first for Mixon is a W. So this is one of those where I would probably be willing to take that side. The one thing is in one quarterback, right, it does kind of depreciate the first. I still feel like a mid-first for Mixon probably is a win. So I think I'd be comfortable taking that. If you have right now Lamb, Neighbors, London, right? So if you still have 3 very good receivers and you're only starting 3 on a weekly basis, I feel pretty good about that. Now you have that mid-26 first to play with. Where Mixon right now was great last year, and it's a matter of till the wheels fall off. So I probably would lean the Hampton and the 26 mid-first side. All right, who do you like better, Kendre Miller or Devin Neal? Neither. No, I think I like Devin Neal, right? But the draft capital is not really high. Round 6. I mean, Devin Neal could end up flaming out, but Kendre really hasn't done anything. Literally feels like he hasn't done anything in 2 years. So they're honestly probably not much difference as far as value goes. And I'd almost be more comfortable re-rolling it into Neal, as crazy as that sounds. Like, Kendre Miller to me feels like a roster clogger. Who keeps his guy squad like we're supposed to start dick riding? Yeah, I mean that squad was nasty though, for real. All right, 12-team Superflex. I have Tua, Baker, Shadur. Do I need to make a move for a quarterback? Okay, so here's what I would say, Vidal. Yes, like, because Shadur right now could end up being the quarterback for the Browns, but we really don't know when that is going to be. Now, if Shadur is actually starting, right, I think it's fine to have him as your quarterback 3. But with Tua as one of my quarterbacks, him potentially missing time for just any injury, let alone the concussion problem, I want to have a more stable quarterback 3 than Shadur Sanders at the moment. While that's who I would like to see eventually become the Browns starter, there's no guarantee with that, with the draft capital they used on him. So, to me, I think I would like to have a quarterback higher than Shadur as my quarterback 3 that's more stable as far as like actually starting, even if it was a lower end starting option. So that's the way I would say. I would say yes to that. And so Cody says 4 to 5 is the cap for him. Yeah, I mean it is. It is very much all personal preference, and I think you just have to be cognizant of how much it's feeling like fun or not, and that's the easiest way to gauge it for me. Dynasty question. Good. You're in the right place, Patrick. I got Genty for the 101, and my best backup is Tony Pollard. Should I draft at the 205 Scat or Jack Beck? My wide receiver is decent. Listen, I think once you get to this range, Scatabo definitely could end up being in a good spot, but he's also a day 3 pick, and just realistically, I think this is a preference pick. So Jack Beck going to the Raiders, I think, is going to be in a spot where it's really nice. I typically try to say top 50 is like the range I really like to see my receivers drafted in. I believe he was like 58. So it's kind of just outside of that. But I think there's plenty of opportunity for a guy like Jack Beck to actually do really well. And I just think of the pairing with, Geno, and I do like Jack Beck quite a bit. So I don't think you go wrong either way. For me, that's typically where I would lean to the running back position. But Jack Beck, I think overall as a receiver is good enough to where you could go your personal preference here. I don't think like you have to go one way or the other. For me though, I just look at Scatabo and I think about his situation. And even if I don't start him on a weekly basis right now, something happens to Tyrone Tracy and Scatabo is going to be like the primary bell cow. I feel very much like I'm going to end up starting that player in those scenarios where Jack Beck, even if there's some injuries in front of him, I don't know that all of a sudden he's going to become like a clear-cut weekly starter for me at the receiver position. So that's where I typically lean just overall in a vacuum, the running back spot around a range like this when I'm playing in a lineup dynasty league. So hopefully that answers your question. How do we feel about Jayden Reed? Man, this is about the roughest question. Like, I love the talent, love Jayden Reed, and I don't know. It's tough, man. I love Jayden Reed, the player, but they just drafted Matthew Golden, and I feel like we're not going to get him outside of just being used in this slot situation. So I think he's probably going to be a boom or bust receiver, and I think he's probably going to have more booms than he did towards the end of last year, just realistically. So I feel fine about him, but I think his value right now is settled into a point where, like last year this time, I was really preaching kind of sell because he was getting in that wide receiver 2 range in Dynasty. Now I think at this point he's much more reasonable cost-wise to where I don't have any problem actually investing in Jayden Reed and kind of having him as a boom or bust receiver. I think he's probably like, if all things go well, he's kind of in that JMO mold where when he busts or when he booms, it's going to be great, but when he busts, he just gives you nothing. So that's the way I kind of feel about Jayden Reed. But I can't deny the talent. I love the player. What is a typical buy-in? Edwards asked. I would say a typical buy-in, frankly, doesn't truly exist the way I view it because I've seen some people that do these $20 buy-ins. I basically won't even I don't even consider. I know some people do free leagues. I'm not trying to hate on you if you do free leagues. For me, if there's no monetary investment, I find people they're not really attached to it enough, and it's just goofy stuff happens. I've seen $25 leagues. A lot of the leagues I'm playing in, like in my 18, I'd say the majority are anywhere from 50 to 100. That would be the majority of my buy-ins. But I have some that are 150. I have some that are 75. I have some that are 200. So I would say once you get past 200, though, you're talking about it's a bigger buy-in than I think most leagues are going to be. So as far as a typical buy-in, I'd say probably anywhere from 50 to like $150 or $200 is typical. I would actually say 200 is probably not typical either. Probably somewhere between $50 and $150 is a typical buy-in at the current moment in Dynasty. That's what I would personally say. But again, there's so many different leagues. Typical is hard to even give you a true answer. All right, currently have Herbert, Stroud, Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Ladd, Rice, McBride. You got all the picks, huh? 101, 103, 105, 107, 106. 108, 201, and 26 second, and 327 first. Would you consider this a contender? It could be, right? If you actualize all the picks, Christopher, and you make if that turns into Genty, and let's say it turns into Hampton, and it turns into Travis Hunter or Tat McMillan, right? All those players, it could. But I would say this in general. Last year, I think, is a bad example. That class was so fucking good, y'all. Last year, I think, is a bad example to kind of think about. Realistically, I think relying on too many rookies year in and year out is just a bad principle for thinking about your team in a contending window. Dynasty value always is going to be shifting really heavily towards the rookies because of the nature of the beast, right? There's no one playing for all these months, and we focus on the rookies, and we hyper-focus on them, and that's only the people that we're drafting. The reality is most of these players, even in the first round, aren't going to be like producing really great for our fantasy teams right out of the gates. That's where last year's a bad example because we had historic production out of so many different players in the rookie class. So I would say you have a lot of great pieces, but I would be very cautious to you about relying too much on rookie production. Now, you do have, right? So Gibbs and Genty, I think, would be great. And you have Amon-Ra Ladd, Rice, I think that's great. McBride's great, and those two quarterbacks are great. So you have enough stability, I think, on your team, but I would just be cautious about relying too much on rookie production with a situation like this. I'm not saying you can't, but the way I would personally play it is I would just, if you're going to make all these picks, right, is make the picks, kind of submit your lineup the best you have it each week early on in the season, and you'll get a clear indication as the season goes along. Okay, am I in a position to actually go contend now? Do I feel like I'm a contender? If that's the case, maybe I move some of my 26 and 27 first to go ahead and secure whatever I need to actually become a contender this season. And if you're not, there's no reason to rush it. You have plenty of picks in 26 and 27. So I think I'd kind of go in trying to be more flexible than like forcing, am I a contender right now? I think if you want to be, you have the ability to. But if some of the rookies are not producing as you'd like, if some of these guys get hurt, I think I would keep my flexibility in case it doesn't go your way. All right, so let's see here. I'm going to try to get to all your questions, but I will tell you, probably unlikely. But I'm starring them as we go, so we'll see how many I can get through. All right, you can time me. All right, so I currently have, we got that one. All right, so I have 102, 104, 201, 202, and a 10 people, and I was thinking of Hampton, T-Mac, Burden, and Harvey. Or I could Hampton and Henderson, but running backs don't have long-term dynasty value. Okay. So your question is really, what do you do with the 102 and the 104? I think, yes, the running backs don't have the longest shelf life in dynasty, right? One thing I'll say though about it is I wouldn't get too worried about the overall shelf life of the players. I kind of view my team in dynasty in a 2 to 3 year window, and I'm trying to play accordingly to that. So I think Hampton and Henderson for the next 2 or 3 years probably are going to maintain a pretty damn good dynasty value as long as they don't really bust or they have a tragic, really horrible injury. So, and the reason I say that is, like, while they may not have the longest shelf life, you don't have to keep them on your team that whole time. You can trade them. And they have, I think, realistically, especially a guy like Hampton, he has probably as good a value as anybody, as good a chance, I should say, as anyone in the class outside of Genty to score this season as a like potential top 15, top 12 at the position. So I wouldn't shy away from the running back position personally, even though their shelf life may not be the longest. So you were thinking of Hampton, T-Mac, Burden, Harvey. I would say I definitely would be taking Hampton at 102, which is you already have. Now at the 104 spot, for me, in a 10-team league, the quarterback, I would definitely say Cam Ward's out of the equation there. So you're on to something here where you take your best running back at the 104 in Henderson or Tet. I would say that kind of comes down to your personal preference. So I don't think you have I think you're on the right track. I don't think you have a wrong view here. For me personally, it would probably just come down to the scoring settings. Like, do I think the running back position in your scoring settings is it boostable enough to where I take Trevion Henderson or I take Quinshawn, whoever you feel, or do I take Tet McMillan? If it's just like a standard PPR league, I think Tet probably is the safer pick of those players. Love the preview. Appreciate you, Patrick. Love you. Smoochies. Dynasty League. Bijan for 106 and a projected 26 mid-first. Who wins? Bijan for 106 and a projected 26 mid-first. I would say in most formats, it feels like a lot, right? Because that's 2 first. The thing about it is, you're talking, okay, would you rather have Bijan Robinson and let's call it Quinshawn Judkins or Trevion Henderson, or like even if we just said it was one of those backs and then a mid-26 first, I still think Bijan's worth it, man. I think in a lineup where we're starting 9 or 10 players, I still think Bijan probably is worth the 106 and the mid-first. Bijan was tremendous last year. I think he's still a super special talent. He's 23. I think in the majority of formats, I would want the Bijan side. Now, if we're starting again, we start starting like, let's say 11 or 12 players in a 12-team league, or this is a best ball league, I would take the package of picks. But I think in most, lineup start 9, start 10 leagues, I'd take the Bijan side here. Yeah, Superflex. I would. And the Superflex obviously makes it important because that mid-26 first. It could be a pretty decent quarterback next year, depending on where that pick falls. But I still think Bijan's worth it, man, personally. I have Rice, Neighbors, McConkey, Keenan Allen. Who? Keenan Allen's. I'm just kidding. Khalil Shakir, Seti Tillman. But my best running back is Javonte Williams. You and the Dallas Cowboys right now. I have the 101 and the 102. Crazy to take Hunter over Hampton. Trying to trade for the 103. I would say it's not crazy to take Hunter over Hampton. In a vacuum, I have in a 12-team Superflex, my tier is pretty much Genty's the 101. 102, 103, 104 is between Cam Ward, Omarion Hampton, and Travis Hunter for me. And then I have Ted at the 105. So, like, they're in a tier, right? I don't think it's crazy to take Hunter over Omarion Hampton. I would say, though, like when I look at your team here, right? You got Neighbors, you got McConkey, you got Khalil Shakir, Rice as your wide receiver 3. I think you can definitely make the case that your team would be better served, and they're in the same tier, so it's not like you're overdrafting per se here. I think taking Hampton would be the way I would play it personally if you think your team is ready to go in all the other spots. Definitely, though, I'm not going to fight you if you took Travis Hunter at the 102. I think they're pretty interchangeable for me. All right, so I flipped. Cody says I flipped Aaron Jones for the 306 and a 26 second and fourth. Superflex, half PPR. My backs are James Cook, Derrick Henry, Jalen Warren, Marshawn Lloyd, Jalen Wright, and Ray Davis. Okay. Forgot Rico Dowdle. You can always forget Rico Dowdle. So he flipped Aaron Jones and the 306 for a 26 second and fourth. Ooh, man. I don't know. With all the running backs you have, I guess I could understand why you do this. You got James Cook, you got Derrick Henry, but like Marshawn Lloyd, Jalen Wright, even Jalen Warren at this point with the draft pick of Caleb Johnson and Ray Davis, I think I might have held on to Aaron Jones in the 306, to be honest, right? I think Aaron Jones for a 26 second, that probably is a slight win to the value side of the second. But then the 306 in this class, like you still could get some decent running back depth at that spot. The Vikings didn't do anything to they didn't address the running back spot really. So that's tough. I think it's a fair trade. But I probably, in a scenario where I'm trying to contend, I might have held on to Aaron Jones in that scenario. Of course, Jake, I got you, man. Appreciate all you guys. All right, we got a half PPR. We've got keep Neighbors for a fourth or Nico for a 10th. Oh, man. I want to say Neighbors so bad, but the Nico for a 10th feels like a crazy value. I think probably I would take the Nico side. Too much value to pass up on there. I'm not necessarily all that worried about the Jayden Higgins, the Jalen Noel, all the talent they brought in. I think they've been needing to do that anyway. Neighbors was so damn good last year. It's hard for me to say not to take Neighbors because that's a good value in its own right, but Nico for a 10th feels like a steal. Feels like it's too much to pass up on. I traded Pacheco for Aaron Jones on a contending roster before the draft. Did I lose? I think so. I would say, though, you could make the case that you didn't. Like, if Pacheco's going to get into a muddled backfield again this year, them drafting Brashard Smith, I don't know really how much run he's going to end up getting. But if Pacheco's going to go into a situation where the backfield's muddled again this year, Aaron Jones for the 1 year he may have left, or maybe if it's 2, could be worth more than Pacheco. So, like, I don't hate it. I probably wouldn't have done it personally, but I honestly don't hate it. Lido. Star Lido. I know you aren't a huge fan of tight ends. So in a lineup 1.5 tight end league, what would you rather? I'm sorry. What would you get rid of Pitts or Strange for? I think right now Strange probably isn't trading for very much. Pitts is also a tough one because the thing about Kyle Pitts is just he could end up being so mid again, but if he has a hot start to the season where he has, let's say, he finishes as a tight end 1, which that's not even a very high bar, right? Finishes as a tight end 1, let's say 2 or 3 of the first 2 weeks, his value will creep up again. So, I think Strange is probably, I mean, realistically, like a future third. I mean, at best. If you can get more than that, great. But I think probably a future third is what Strange's value would go for. Pitts, and I'd be fine doing that if you could actually get off of that. Pitts, you're not going to probably get a first right now. So if you wanted to try to hold Pitts and try to sell him for a pop window of production, I can understand that a little more. Strange, I feel like realistically, though, if I can get a future third for him, especially if you already have other tight ends, I'd probably be willing to do that. All right, you're on the clock. We got an on the clock. What's up, Chuck? On the clock at 107. Hunter's available or trade back to 203 plus. Probably not a contender. Listen, don't be the Browns here. Don't trade back. You're not getting enough of a haul to trade back like the Browns were either. So I would take Hunter at the 107 spot personally. Me. I got him at the 108 in the pre-NFL draft, and I love that. And 107 is about as close as that gets. So, hey, what's up? Loving the Q+Assault. Appreciate that, Nick. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, and just so everybody knows, this is normally a Big Dogs only. So if you're a Big Dog member, you go over to bdg.co, you become a Big Dog member, right? For $9.99. It's not just this, but two of the things that I have are every single Saturday, I give you a Q+Assault, private Q+Assault. So this is normally for only the Big Dogs. I dropped the ball and made this, instead of unlisted, a fully listed video. So that's why you're getting this from me here. But if you go over there and do that, you also get my Dynasty ranks and my rookie ranks for the 25 class. Again, that's $9.95 a month, or $9.99 a month. And there's also other things that you get as a part of being a Big Dog member for $9.99. So if you're really loving this, go check that out. If you want to get a weekly Saturday, 3 p.m. when I get my little kids down, Q+Assault with ATM. So anyway, all right. So I offered 3 firsts for Chase today, 108, 2 future firsts. Got shot down in like 4 seconds of my offer. Well, I mean, the 108, right, in this class doesn't actually give most people that full first in value. And here's the way I think about this, Henry. I think in general, while 3 firsts for any player gets you in the conversation, most people don't want to trade off of a Chase for strictly picks, okay? And even though the 108 is going to turn into a player, like the 108's right on the cusp of a tier where you may not really want any of the players there. And then those 2 future firsts, it feels like you're getting totally nickeled and dimed. And I could make the case why the picks might be more worthwhile. But I think in general, this is an offer that most people will shoot down right away for a Jamar Chase player who's the current 101 for the receiver position in most people's dynasty ranks. Although I have a tier personally with it's Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors. That would be my wide receiver 1 tier in dynasty. All right, so Smash Hunter at the 107, not even a question. Talk to him, Lito. Talk to him. All right, so do you think DK or Debo will be good this year? No. Sorry. Like, DK is someone I've tried to move off of Fade the Fetal and a few other places. The interest is low. I think Mason Rudolph and Will Howard, whoever ends up being the starter in Pittsburgh, like, I don't know. I feel like it's just mid, and we've seen enough of DK being mid with Geno, right? So to me, I don't love it. I think Pickens is good enough in his own right to kind of cap the ceiling for DK. Debo, I feel like at this point in his career, while this is a good situation, he's going into this could be a shot of life for him. I feel like at this point of his career, with all the injuries he's kind of dealt with, I'm very hesitant, to be honest with you, about Debo. I'm not going to say he can't. I'm not going to say either one of these guys cannot be good this year. I think that there's certainly a scenario where they could. I don't believe so, though. I'm personally not betting on it. And I'm not in Dynasty making bets on either one of those players. 1 quarterback Dynasty with a 1-point PPR. I got good wide receivers and no running backs with Kelsey at tight end. My only running back is Najee. Can't overthink the 102 and pick Hampton regardless of having Najee, right? All right, let me reread this just to make sure. My only running back is Najee. Oh, yeah. I mean, if your running back room, this is where I talk about I want to draft for value and trade for need, right? So in this scenario, if you're telling me you were drafting like Quinshawn up here into a different tier, I would say no, I wouldn't do that. However, this is where I do have Hampton in the same tier as a Travis Hunter, as Cam Ward. So, and this is 1 quarterback, so we can take Cam Ward out of the conversation. So yes, I think here is where I wouldn't overthink it, because now you're in the same tier, so you're not drafting necessarily for value or for need. If it's in the same bucket of players, same tier, go ahead and draft for your team needs. I think Hampton would be the pick for me personally, and one quarterback, no question. All right, so valuation question. For a superflex tight end premium startup, start one running back. Wow, only start one running back is kind of wild. Start two receivers, one tight end, and three flex. How would this change? How would this change how you value wide receiver versus tight end versus running back? So in this scenario, right, if you're telling me those are the starters weekly and it's just a regular PPR league, what would change is I'd be even more aligned with getting receivers. So I can start up to 5 receivers, right? If I can get those elite producing receivers in full PPR, I would be probably trying to do everything I could to have probably 6 to 7 really nice receivers. And then at the running back spot, I'd probably try to have a hero RB, but then I would be filling my bench with just a bunch of running backs that realistically anything could happen in front of them, and boom, they're basically any running back on a 53-man roster, but the plus versions of that. So like Jordan James types even. Give me a bunch of those players where if they end up in the scenario of starting, they could very well become one of my flexes, or the one running back spot. If I have my hero RB go down, I could fill that in. It wouldn't be changing it a ton from how I already view and play the game of Dynasty. The reason it would be different though is I basically am not going to. I wouldn't put as much emphasis on getting more than one really highly valued running back probably here, and I would try to build my team around a little bit more of a stable Dynasty value in receivers. So that would be my answer to that question. And I would need to know what the tight end premium is here. Like, I probably would give if it's not a tight end premium, I could care less about the tight end position in this format. I like that question though, Jokester. Thank you. In a full rebuild, 10-team, Superflex, full PPR, I was hurting at running back. Garendo and Jalen Wright were my best options going in the draft. How would you rate my running back draft? Okay, so he had 10 picks. He went with Hampton, 102, Junkins, 104, Harvey, 201. Harvey, 201 is crazy. I guess this is a 10-team, though, right? Okay, so that's the 111. All right, a little bit better there. So 201, Cam Ward, 202. I'll say it's a super flex. I mean, in super flex, I think Cam Ward, honestly, that I would have drafted him there, but I would push him down the board quite a bit in 10-team because the scarcity of the position just isn't there. But Harvey, Cam Ward, Matthew Golden, Dylan Sampson at the 302. You got Bashaw Tootin at the 303. Man, so at that point, you have all these picks, so it doesn't really matter. I would have taken Tootin ahead of Sampson, but yeah, so you got Tootin, you got 303. 304 is Ollie Gordon, Shadur at 309, 410 Woody. I mean, I feel like you crushed this draft. I don't know who else was there for Matthew Golden, but like I have no problem with him in the early part of round 2. So I feel like you crushed it, to be completely honest with you, Mike. I can't fight it at all. I feel like Harvey at the 201 specifically is great, especially considering you said you were hurting at running back. So I love it. Okay, I think I got your question, Juxter. All right. What's your outlook on Jalen Milroe? I think here's the thing, Alejandro, with Jalen Milroe. This is a good conversation, right? Round 3 guy. I think Jalen Milroe is you draft it knowing there's no floor. Knowing there is no floor at all, but not caring about that. Because if he plays, when he plays, like, I'm literally playing him. Like, unless my quarterback room is so egregiously good, I'm not going to play him. Like, I'm pretty much playing Jalen Milroe whenever he does play, if he plays. So that my outlook on him is that he may not be a very good NFL quarterback. He may be a project, but he's so dangerous because of his legs and fantasy that I want to have him. So he's someone I'm prioritizing, especially in the back part of round 2 in a 12-team Superflex league. All right, am I cooked? I always love the am I cooked questions. Running backs are Zach Charbonnet, Bigsby, Bigsby, Jonathan Brooks, and Braylon Allen. I have 101 and 107. No, I don't think you're cooked. Genty already, right? Just slot him in as your 101. Perfect. Boom. At that point, right, you're running back 2. Like, I would like to have better than Charbonnet, but I'd say at 107, you can probably get a Quinshawn or a Trayvon Henderson. I think you have a very good chance to there. And you could also probably take, I wouldn't reach on Harvey, I don't think, at 107, but you might be able to trade back maybe from 107 to 109 and take a Caleb Johnson or a Harvey, and then also net whatever that plus would be. So no, I don't think you're cooked. Yeah, I mean, it's not great, but I think by the time you take Genty, this whole room can look a whole lot different. Awesome, man. Appreciate you, Patrick. I'm happy to give you guys the information and love it. I'm a Browns fan. I feel your pain. Henry, let's go, man. We stick. Browns fans got to stick together. All right. Should you feel guilty if one of your league mates accepts a low ball? No, I don't think so. Like, why? I mean, I'll say this. I don't typically, the way I like to trade, I don't typically send out a whole lot of low ball offers. Every now and again, I'll send what I think might be lower than I would go through with a trade. But if someone accepts it, why feel guilty? The only way you should feel guilty is if they're like coming out and saying, "Oh, I didn't mean to accept that. Like, please reverse the trade," something like that. But no. I think one thing in particular about this, though, I wouldn't feel guilty, but I think over time, if you end up getting a lot of trades done that are lowball offers that are getting accepted, like, I'm probably going to be burning bridges with trading with them in the future. I think that's kind of the way that I would feel about it. I wouldn't necessarily feel guilty, though. Like, why? You sent out an offer, they took it? I don't feel guilty about that. I just got an offer, 2 future picks, and give me Mason. Ooh, Jordan Mason? But I'm not so crazy about Mason to waste my 2 second picks, 26 and 27. Any thoughts? I'll be honest. I'm trying to follow the question. Could you try to reword it for me? I feel like I'm missing the question personally. I appreciate the question, by the way, but I feel like if you could reword it for me, I'm not sure I'm following it. Appreciate it, Matt. Yeah, go ahead and hit that like and hit the subscribe, y'all. I'm here for y'all. Henderson or Judkins, who do I keep? I'm getting offered 2 projected early mid first for either one. Oh, shoot. I'm going to tell you this. The role, if you're getting 2 early firsts for them, I'm getting rid of both. They can have both, for real. Like, I like Henderson quite a bit, and I like Judkins quite a bit. But if you're getting 2 early firsts for either one of them, they can have their pick, and they can have both, personally. Like, 26 and 27 class, both I think on the early side of picks, not even a question. Even if it was 1 early and 1 mid, like you're saying here, nah, I'm taking those 2 first. I'm getting out of both Judkins and Henderson right now. Now, I guess that would also let me just say, when I say that's assuming super flex. 1 quarterback, I think I still probably would. I don't play in a lot of 1 quarterback, so might be a little bit different there, but I'd be getting out of both, personally. My starting tight end is Ben Sinnott right now. I hope that's not the case. Should I trade Chris Olave, J.K. Dobbins for Mark Andrews, Jacoby Myers on the 26th second? So you're basically splitting, like, I kind of view this as you're splitting Olave into 3 parts. I'll be honest, it feels really gross, personally, for Olave. I don't hate it. But I think I would say this. I think I would rather get the tight end position filled in a different way than just moving on from Chris Olave for this. I feel like Chris Olave, even while he's depressed in value, can get you a different return than Mark Andrews already feels crusty in Dynasty. Jacoby Myers, I've been talking about buying Jacoby Myers since the 2023 season. He's felt crusty this whole time. I feel like I'd rather get a different return for Chris Olave personally, just to give you a little bit of my brain on that one. How much value do you think you should have in your 3rd roster quarterback? It's crazy. I'll give you guys the answer again, but I think the dynasty value here, I don't want to have a lot of dynasty value in my quarterback 3 unless I'm in a true quarterback horde, right? I would like to have guys like Stafford, guys like Dak, guys like even maybe Geno, guys that are much lower on the totem pole as far as the dynasty value. I don't want to have excess dynasty value in my quarterback 3 spot because outside of tradability, what am I getting there, right? That's kind of the way I view it. So I would like to have a lower value quarterback 3, but one that has, as far as dynasty value, but one that has high upside if I need to rely on him. It's not crazy high upside, right? But a guy like Matthew Stafford could be a quarterback 1. So that's kind of the reason I say that and how the way I view it. Jay Jackson, what's up, baby? How we doing, man? This is supposed to be a private Q&A stream for the big dogs on Saturdays, and I got the whole works here. So I appreciate all you guys hopping in, man. Thanks for all the questions and all of it. Jay says you've been holding out on us. I ain't been holding out on you, man. You got to come check out the BDGE Big Dogs Only chat to get these normally on Saturday. This was a fuck up on my part. I will not deny that. What are your thoughts on Loveland and Warren? Fading a tight end that's drafted at 10 kind of seems dumb, but the Bears also have too many mouths to feed compared to the Colts. But quarterback situation is bad. Bowers also had a bad quarterback. Here's my thoughts on the situation, right? I know you kind of put a lot of different things to think about in there. Where they're going in Dynasty right now, okay? Colts and Loveland. I personally think the biggest gap in Dynasty value and production value, right, is at the tight end position. Okay, so hear me again. Bowers did completely reset and reframe and rewire, I think, the way that people view it. And I think that's a bad precedence to put kind of for these tight ends to be coming in drafted this highly. I think overall the young Dynasty value tight end is not guaranteed to produce, right? So basically last year you saw a lot of the really well producers outside of Bowers. And don't get me wrong, Bowers was ridiculously good, and he's personally, in my opinion, more of a unicorn than we want to give him credit for. So Trey McBride, it took him time to become what he is today, right? Sam Laporta did actually have a great season off the rip in his rookie year, but he had a worse season too, but he was not the supposed to be breakout tight end in that class. Think about guys like Dalton Kincaid, guys like Kyle Pitts. There's so many of these young tight ends that eventually don't produce for us that we think are really highly valued. They eventually dip down in price, and then they become resurging tight ends that we prefer down the road, guys like David Njoku. So I personally, especially at the cost investment of tight end 4 overall, tight end 5 for Loveland and for Tyler Warren, I'm out. And the large majority is because in Dynasty, in most scoring settings, forget Dynasty even, the tight end position isn't worth the type of draft capital it's going to take to acquire these guys. Brock Bowers, again, I think will be the exception to the rule. And if I end up being wrong, right, like let's say Tyler Warren and Colson Loveland follow the Brock Bowers path, maybe I'd reconsider and reevaluate the situation. But I think there's a much greater than not scenario where Colson Loveland and Tyler Warren, both of them may not even finish as top 8 tight ends this year. So that's kind of the reason I'm out on that scenario, because they're going to be being drafted super highly. Chase Brown and the 103 for Bijan. Listen, Chase Brown was a big winner in this draft. The 103. So Chase Brown, let's just say Chase Brown and Omari Hampton for Bijan. Might be tough not to take the 2 for 1 there. I think that's a much better conversation for a guy like Bijan trading down. If you're actually getting Hampton and you're getting Hampton and then you're getting Chase Brown, I think I might be able to make that tier down. But again, if you have a embarrassment of riches, like, I think it's also fine to tier up there. Bijan's different, man. Dude's crazy good. Hello, good sir. What's going on, Phantom? Phantom knows the deal. Phantom's in the big dogs normally here all by himself. He's probably like, what the hell did you do to me this week, Adam? My bad, man. My bad. All right, so I moved Burrow, Debo, and Tyreek for Olave, Caleb, and the 102. Let's see. All right, so Burrow, Debo, and Tyreek for Olave, Caleb, and the 102. Ooh, I like that. I do like that. And it's tough to lose Burrow, but Caleb in the 102 is nice. I like that a lot. Then you flip the 102, 105 for Chase. Woo. But so you don't have the stack, right? So now you have Caleb. So now you have Caleb, Olave, and Chase, but you really moved on from Burrow, Debo, Tyreek in the 105. I still think I like that. Chase is different, man. He's hard to acquire. All right, I had Kyle Williams and Pat Bryant sniped from me in my rookie draft this year, so starting off hot. Phantom, it happens, man. It happens. I'm loaded at wide receiver. Should I try and send a Dunze for a running back plus, and who? I'll be honest with you. I think right now, Kyle Hop, Odunze is down to wide receiver 20, and I think there's still a little water maybe to tread for him. He's down to 21, wide receiver 21. He's not a sell candidate for me. Actually, if you go to my channel, the South Harmon Dynasty channel, you can see I did a right before the draft, so I didn't know they were going to take Loveland and Luther Burden so highly. But I put a Rome Odunze video, 22-minute video breakdown. I would say personally go check that video out. Anyone as well that's curious to hear my pro side of the Rome Odunze, go check out that video because I go pretty in depth. And I think there's, even now with the target competition they brought in of Luther Burden and Colson Loveland, I still don't view that as a problem for Rome Odunze, as a guy that was drafted inside the top 10. And last year, with target hogs of Keenan Allen and DJ Moore there, had over 100 targets. And he also had a huge unrealized air yards, 916 unrealized air yards. I think there's a lot of meat on the bone for Rome Odunze to actually be really great for our teams in Dynasty this year. So he just wouldn't be the person I'm trying to move off of personally. All right, what are the odds Judkins outperforms Hampton? I have the 103, and I think Hampton will be there. But I've seen some analysts say they have Judkins as the running back 2 of the class. I think Judkins, here's the thing, right? Najee versus Hampton, I think Hampton's eventually going to take over the workload, but Najee might eat into some of his touches early on, where Judkins, I think right now, is primed to just be the guy getting the touches right away. I'd still say it's probably maybe 60-40, leaning towards Judkins' way. But like if you told me you think Hampton with first-round draft capital with that run game is going to be running back 1 this year, I mean, I can't fight it at all. So honestly, it's probably closer to 50-50. But I'd say maybe 60-40 Judkins' way. Just because early on in the season, he might get more of the work right away. What is the Dynasty trade show? When is the Dynasty trade show on South Harmon coming back? Good question, Aiden. As a matter of fact, we're going to be recording it this Thursday. This Thursday, Mike and I are going to be recording it for Saturday, a week from now, releasing. And they normally release at 11 a.m. So next Saturday, 11 a.m., mark it down, man. Mark it down. Appreciate you, Juxter. Appreciate you guys. All right, so we're a little over an hour here. So I'm going to try to, we're not that bad as far as questions. I'm going to wrap up. Whatever questions I have here, I'm going to get through them. And I appreciate all you guys tapping in, man. Appreciate all you guys tapping in. Showing me some love. If you could, go down, hit that like and subscribe. If you're into the game of Dynasty, I promise this is the place you want to be. Nick and I are ripping out videos weekly, doing the best we can for y'all, man. So I appreciate you guys all tapping in. All right. Here are the questions I have left. What is your take on A-Rich Indy quarterback situation? Do you see any avenue back for A-Rich? I do, for sure. I mean, listen, if he has a good season and starts to, put some things together next year, I think absolutely. The draft capital is super rich. Look at Bryce Young last year, right? They benched Bryce Young for Andy Dalton, and at that time, it may have felt like Bryce Young's career was cooked as far as being a Carolina Panther. I think right now he's going to go into the season as a starter. Like Daniel Jones, let's call it what it is. It's not someone that we should be. Is super threatening as a backup quarterback. It's not some huge investment the Colts made. I think right now he's definitely on the hot seat, and you need to see a lot of progress and traction early on for him. But if he was to put it together early in the season and can stay healthy and can get off the tap into the helmet, some of that stuff, get back into the good graces with the coaching staff, I think he could absolutely still be their franchise quarterback. So I think in the range of outcomes, that still exists. Now, I'm not projecting that's going to happen, right? But I think there's absolutely an avenue back. And I think the reality is, even if that's not the case, he's getting to the point in dynasty value where, like, the floor for him, it doesn't even need to be that high. I just need him to start. If he starts for almost a full season, his floor in dynasty, I think, makes it worth the investment and cost, which he's now quarterback 27, like, behind Justin Fields. So for the record, like, I think his path would be kind of a Justin Fields-like thing, even if it doesn't work out, where he's moving on from team to team until he eventually gets, back into the starting role at some point. Remember, this is a project quarterback. So, I think there's an avenue back, and I personally like having A-Rich on my team, especially considering the dynasty cost. Roast you? Shoot, I don't need anything else. I'll just start roasting you right there. Nah, PPR, Superflex. Sold Burrow for the 101 and Hawkinson after getting brave on Liquid Courage. You had some Liquid Courage for sure. Now my quarterbacks are Caleb Williams and Daniel Jones. Oh, wow. Man. Superflex? What are you thinking? Like, you want me to actually roast you? Because this would be easy. Like, I get it. Burrow and Genty, you want the Genty side, but Hawk wouldn't have been what one would have given me enough to go to the Genty side. And Danny Dimes is not going to probably be the starter of day one. Like, whew. Well, you tell me what your plan is at that Superflex spot, because that's a tough look, my friend. I've been there, though. I've made terrible trades before. I get it. If you're rebuilding but are set at quarterback, are you taking Ted or Cam? 12-team Superflex, I would be taking Cam Ward. 101 pick. I think there's going to be people, if he plays well, where he doesn't even have to produce necessarily all that high. I think if he plays well, you'll be able to trade him to someone kind of like, look at like CJ Stroud, right? CJ Stroud's value got crazy high. Right or wrong, it did. So I think Cam would be the one I'd be taking in 12-team. If it's a 10-team league, it'd be Ted. Ethan 22, I know you. 12-team, start 10, Superflex, half-point PPR, no tight end premium, best ball. What do you do with this team? Allen, May, Stafford, Monty, Bigsby, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Puka, BTJ, Ladd, Waddle, Kelsey. Your quarterbacks are great. I love having, again, Stafford as my quarterback 3, May as my quarterback 2. Perfect pairing. Monty, Bigsby. I mean, I think your running back room needs addressed, right? Like, definitely in a big way. Having Amon-Ra, Puka, BTJ, and Ladd, though, those 4 are great. Waddle even at the 5. I think I'd be trying to see if I can move off of Ladd personally, or BTJ, someone else. Like, I know those are really highly valued receivers and you'd like to keep them all, but I'd probably see if I could get off of one of them and try to pivot that value into the running back position. Tight end, I think realistically, like Kelsey's probably cooked, and you just kind of patchwork together the tight end position as that comes to more and more clarity. That'd be my personal suggestion. 201, Pickens, Roshan for Rice in the 210. I want Rice over Pickens. Roshan doesn't matter. Is the 201 to 210 enough? That's tough. Like, Roshan doesn't matter to me at all. I think Rice over Pickens. I have enough that I would prefer Rice over Pickens to the 201 to 210. That'd be my personal way that I view that trade, Mark. All right, here we go. Cal Hop. I'll give you this one. I said I wasn't going to do any more, but this one I'll give you a follow-up to. Only reason I'm asking about Selena Odunze is because I also have neighbors, BTJ, Marv, Ladd, and Travis Hunter. Great. How many can you start? Because here's, I guess, the reason I'm saying that, right? Rome Odunze, I think, has some value to capture upwards, and I think you could move on from one of these guys and get a much better return than what Rome Odunze could give you. So I think sometimes that's one of the learning things that I've had to go through is, like, realistically for my wide receiver 5, Rome Odunze, I think, probably going to be just fine and has a lot of upside to get closer to these guys than we actually want to believe, where Ladd or Marv or BTJ can trade for a absolute haul right now, even Travis Hunter. So I get that, and I get preferring to sell Odunze, but the reality is the difference in what Odunze is going to trade for and one of those other guys is going to trade for is probably worth taking that shot on Rome as your wide receiver 5, so to speak. So that's where I would that's the reason I would say that. What's up, my brother? What's up, T-Rock? This fade draft is brutal. Starting off slow, but we'll get there, man. We will get there. Start 3-2 flex. Yeah, and I get it. You definitely could have all 5 of those guys, but I think taking that, again, shot on Rome as him having a value ascension and starting to produce closer to those guys is worth it, given what Ladd or BTJ or somebody could trade for. So that would be the way I would view it. Appreciate all you guys, man. I would keep answering questions, but I would just end up being here all day long. And I appreciate everyone tapping in. If you're still here, make sure you go down and hit the like and subscribe button. Also, this is normally a private-only Q+Assault for the Big Dog members. So if you go over to bdg.co, you can get all my Dynasty ranks, all my rookie ranks are up there. They're updated there. You get all kinds of other different things as well for becoming a Big Dog member, but you also get every single Saturday one of these. You get the link that goes into the Big Dogs only chat, and you get to come kick it with me doing this. This was not supposed to be on the regular Dynasty channel, but it did give you a preview and get to see, if you do want to be a Big Dog member, that you'll get one of these every single Saturday, as well as my updated Dynasty ranks for $9.99 a month. But for now, that's all we got. We appreciate every single one of you. We're out of here. Peace.